Hi, this is Mandy from Sunflowers and Doors. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the Stitch in Time collaboration between myself, the Junk Journal Fix with Sunflowers and Doors Facebook group, and Teri-Lee, who is Sweet Pea Papers. So we're doing a collaboration this month. I have introduced a new kit that you can purchase 25% off throughout the month, and that kit will allow you to create a shed load of bits and pieces, create your own journal. The freebies for the event are going to be published each week with the inspirational video, and you will have enough freebies to be able to create your own version of the weekly challenge. So we are on week one, and week one is to create, get my paper because I just forgot, a button card style journal card or tag. So a journal card or tag that's in the style of a button card. Okay, and these are the freebies that you will get as part of week one. Okie doke. So I'm going to move the kit to one side. I have printed that just in case I wanted to use any extra bits and pieces, which I might want to do. So I'm just going to pull out a couple of pages. That I might use. Okay. So I'm going to start with the freebies, because that's a good place to start. I do have a couple of things, sorry, to run through. I had a couple of questions in the last lot of videos from the collaboration, so I thought I'd answer those here. Somebody was asking about this glue gun. It's actually a glue press. It's by My Sweet Petunia, and the glue bottle, you get the gun, you get two glue bottles, one with glue in and one empty, so you can put your own glue in if you like. This literally slots, excuse me, slots in place here, which is, I'm going to find it difficult to do with the lid on. And then you will literally push it and you hear it click into place. That's now loaded and ready to go. You take your top off. There's a little pin in there that will fit inside of here. While you're working, you get the stand. So you can pop that in without having to put the lid on. Excuse me. And then the lid goes here, so it's not gonna, you're not gonna lose it. This, down the bottom, there's like a rubber piece here. I don't know if you can see that. And your nozzle fits perfectly on that. So it keeps it sealed, so it doesn't allow glue to seep out. And it also stops it from drying up. Just remember to put your lid back on it when you're finished. I forget all the time. And it's a bit of a nightmare. The reason I bought this was because I have psoriatic arthritis. So sorry, I just had to have a drink of water. So yeah, I have psoriatic arthritis, so I find it really hard sometimes to grip, and these two fingers don't work well at all, and I get a tremor in my hands. So I was really struggling with some of the glue bottles. This at the moment seems to be working really, really well for me. Still a bit of a you still got to apply a bit of pressure, so if these fingers weren't working as well, then I would probably struggle with this. But because it's these fingers, I've got these three here that I can use for the glue gun. So as I said, for me, it's working really well. And I also had the issue where trying to get my glue sticks here were just getting clogged all the time, and it was just, I couldn't manage them. So yeah, that is My Sweet Petunia. In the UK, it's around about £35. but I don't know whether it's cheaper wherever you live. And you can probably get some good deals as well with that, so there's an option there. I was asked about the sellotape I was used in one of the projects, and this is it here, which I know a lot of you will be familiar with. This is the Tim Holtz cello sticker tape, and it comes out in sheets like this. And you can just see there different sizes of sellotape, faux sellotape that you can use in your projects. So that is Tim Holtz. You can make your own really easily. If you've got things like alcohol inks and some plain sellotape, I make my own often. It takes a couple of minutes and you can make as much as you want. So I do have a full stash. I'll see if I can grab it. So this is a version of my own. And then I just literally cut this down to size. I've done a video on this, which I'll try to remember to attach in the description box below. But as I said, I just literally pull this off and I'll cut it down to size, rip it, tear it, so it looks a little bit more authentic. And you can come up with different colours depending on what alcohol inks you use. But I love that. But I'm also a fan of Tim Holtz, so I did want to try his. I do like it. I like it a lot, but I find it sometimes a little bit yellowish. Whereas if you make your own, you've got a little bit more control over the tones. And then the other thing I was asked about was these blue envelopes here. These are they're vintage, I suppose, or I'm not sure what age they are. But I buy from a seller in the UK, Corey, and her shop is on Instagram. It's Cocos, which is COCOS.CORNUCOPIA. She used to ship all over the place. I'm not sure if she ships to the EU at the moment because she's having the same problems that the rest of us are having with the general safety rules. So that I buy a huge amount off Corey, and I absolutely adore her selection of goods. She literally supplies all sorts of vintage and aged goods. Absolutely fantastic price. So that is, I'll just put that there again. So yeah, check her out, and I'm sure you'll love what she is making. Okay, back to the project. So let's think about what we're going to do. So I'm going to start by cutting out my tags, because I'm going to go with a tag. Okay. I hate kits when they're made and people don't allow for you just to use a cutter, and I'm the worst offender. So I keep telling myself off every time I have to print or every time I have to cut up a kit. I have a, what do you call them? Oh gosh, I can't even remember what you call them now. Cricket. Sorry, I'm just turning the fan off. I have a Cricut, which I bought to do all my fussy cuts for me, and it's an absolute pig of a job. I don't know what I do wrong, but it just never works for me. So yeah, it tears up the pages, you know, kind of catches on things and rips and all sorts. So I really do have a bit of a problem with that. So if anyone's got any tips, I would love to hear them. So we've got 2 tags. I'm going to start with that. I think I would also like to use a pocket. Now the pocket's going to be too big for the tag, but I can wrap it around the back. Yeah, so I'm also going to use this pocket here. Now you can make these yourselves. You don't need the kit just to create a pocket. In your freebies, you've got a couple of things that you can cut down to size and use as pockets if you'd like to. There's a doily version there as well, which is really cool. And please feel free to skip over bits of the video. My software is still not allowing me to fast track sections. I'm cutting this very specifically and I don't need to. I'm thinking of using that on the back here as a pocket. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. Let's see what size my tags are. These are also tags that I got off Corrie. And I'm just looking to see what the size is. They're a little bit smaller than mine, but if I cut a little bit off the bottom, I could use the around side as a border. So I'm going to do that. Only because the paper I printed these kits on isn't sturdy at all, so I'd have to back them with something a little bit more sturdy. But if I've got the tags here already, then I may not need to do that. Yeah, so that's going to fit there perfectly. Perfect. Now with this one, I want to use it as a pocket. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold up this bottom section. There's a line to show you where to fold these pieces, or you can use your scoreboard, whatever you would like. Okay, what I'm going to do with this is I am going to glue this bottom bit here. And I'm going to glue this onto my tag. Like that. So it creates a pocket shape. And then I'm simply going to fold over these bits. I'm going to cut that corner bit down a bit. It's just a bit bulky. Like that. And I'm going to glue these onto the back here. Like that. So I've created a pocket. This will be on the back of my tag. So let's remember we're creating a button card style. So I'm going to glue this now onto my tag. So I know the back is done. And you can stitch around this. So not to apply too much glue. Okay. Gosh, that was hard work. This has got a hole there, reinforcer, so it's quite thick to get through. So that'll be the back of my tag. And I'm just going to ink around that now. Could ink around your paper as well before you add it, if you like. Depends how grungy you want it to look. Okay. So that'll be the back. I'm going to pop this on the front. And I am going to ink around the edge of this one, just because it's the front and it'll look more, you'll see more of it. The other great thing with this glue thing is that it does just give you a really fine covering, so you can choose how much glue you want to apply. And there's a little bit, I find there's a little bit more wiggle room before it dries properly. Not much, but a little bit more. Than the art glitter glue, which has always been my go-to. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do a button style. Now I could use these, which will take me forever to cut out, or I can go for the big ones. Now I don't know if I don't know whether this is the right size for these, but I'm gonna, yeah, that's brilliant, that's perfect. So I'm gonna cut these out. Like so. This is 2 inches. So that is how big our circles are. So we've got 1, 2 of those. I'm also going to cut out the holes from the inside if I can. That's too small. Don't know whether this will let me do it. If it's too, yeah, they go in too much. So that's not going to let me do that. So we'll go with our smaller piece. And I'll just do that in the centre of the hole. And we can always ink around that. Now I'm going to need to back these. So I think I'm going to back them on some copy dyed paper, because again, I don't want them to be too thick. So I'm going to go for one there. And one there. And I'm going to get a little brush, something quite stubby. Let's see if I can get away with just grunging those holes up a little bit. Without going everywhere. So I'm going to need to cut these out again. Okay, I'm also going to cut off this bit here, I think. Right, let's see first of all what size I need. So I'm going to need to cut off probably about there and there. So I'm just measuring how much I need to cut off to have them, sorry, the wind to doors open, it's catching all the papers, the wind. Not much of a wind, but it's enough to cause a problem. So again, so that is going to fit on there, but I do want a bit contrasting look. Now, in fairness, I could. Let's have a look. Bear with me. So I've got some music page here that I'm going to have a go at, possibly using some of this on the side. Okay. Yeah, that's going to work, but I'm going to need to take a little bit more off both of these sides. Like that. So we're going to go take off here and probably here. So that'll give us a bit of a contrast in the side piece there. It might have been nice to have had contrast in all of it. So like a border around it all. Let's have a look and see what that looks like. Oops, all fingers and thumbs today. It's not straight at all. So that will go there. And then we can take this off. Up there. Yeah, it just gives it a little bit more contrast. I'm not going to ink around this one because I don't want everything to be dark and grungy. So that will go on there like that. And then this will go on. Now before, yeah, let me put this on. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is use some embroidery thread. Oh, come on. Okay. And I'm going to pop this through here a few times. Okay, I'm going to do a little knot in that. And I'm going to have a little bit of the thread hanging down. Do the same over here. Didn't need that much after. All that. So I hope you guys are well. I've been really busy the last couple of months, which is great, but I don't normally, I haven't been crafting much. I've really struggled with crafting at the moment, but I did the August collaboration out with a bang, and I was so inspired by the things people were creating that I had to have a play myself. So I am finally back at the craft table, but it's crazy at the moment. I'm doing a lot of digitals, but not so many journals at the moment. I've got a couple of journals now ready, or almost ready, which I will get finished, I'm sure. But selling on Etsy's turns out to be a bit of a nightmare. We've got the issue with the general safety rules, which is to do with you need to have a sponsor in a European country that kind of confirms that your products are safe, I suppose, is the easiest way to describe it. And you've got to do like this technical document and all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So that's a bit of a pain. You can obviously employ a company to do it, but again, that's really costly. And for what you sell, it just doesn't cover the costs. So there's that issue, and then obviously with the new tariffs for America, then that's causing huge problems as well. So yeah, it's hitting a lot of people, and it's hitting a lot of small sellers as well, which is really tough. So I don't know what the world is going to look like tomorrow, but today it's very strange. So these are just foam dots. I do need to buy some because these are the only ones I've got, and they're tiny, tiny, tiny. And I just want to raise these flowers up a bit. So that is why I'm using them. So let's fold that. Okay, 4 there, 4 there. Let's make sure the backs are off all of these. Let's get our tag. So I'm going to put one here, I think. Like that. And the second one is going to go here. Like that. And then let's put a hole in here. Let's pop that on there. If you're going to stitch around it, obviously stitch around it when you need to. And then the only other thing I want to do, I think, is create, I don't like that, I prefer it. I prefer it either stitched or when it goes through double, like that. I don't really know why, but I suppose it's just personal preference, isn't it? So it's better. Okay, and then the only other thing I want to do, I've got this other tag here. So I think I'm going to create a tag that's going to fit in here, in the back pocket. So let's put these away because I don't need those now. And that. So at least we can see what we're doing. I might put some of this on, I said, didn't I? Let's get this one because this one's almost empty. Got a piece up here. I'm trying to get it from the right side. Yeah. So we'll put some of that there. And then I'm going to have a little bit down here. And I'll put a little bit over here. And then to do this tag, I'm going to have to cut this tag down. So if I go to, let's take that to so that is what? Just short of 3 inches across. So I'm going to take a quarter off that side. And I'm going to take a quarter off this side. And then I'm going to take just check to see if that fits, which it does. Great. So now we just have to decorate it. So I think I'm going to do like a bit of a collage with this on the one side, and we'll leave the other side blank so that we can do some fussy cuts. We'll go in the bin now. So let's pop that tag there out the way, and I think I'm just going to do some collaging. So I'm just going to use some of the paper I've done on the back just to bring it all together. And then I think I'm going to go, I thought I brought the stitched paper. Yeah, I think I did. Did I? Yeah, I brought that. So then I'm going to just tear up a few little bits of this. So sorry, this is my fault because I didn't use a glue sheet. Which isn't smart. So we've got that there. And I'm just going to cut around that. Okay. And then I'm going to use from the freebies, which is what I'd used initially. I think I probably should have put a border around these. give you somewhere to pet around, you know. Just gonna grungy this up a little bit. So it's not so stark white. It's probably the wrong colour to grungy it up with vintage photo. Yeah, okay. Now this isn't a tape measure, but it looks a little bit like a tape measure. So I'm going to use that as well, I think, just to give us a bit of a background. This is just a, it's from a file folder that I used, and I just cut the ends off. So that's what that's from, and I just love the file folder. So and then perhaps a little bit of no. I could put that down the bottom, and then that there. That might look pretty. Let's pop some glue down here. Mm-hmm. I think I need something more, something more. Yeah, do you know what? I think wondering if I've got any flowers. Flowers. So I found a couple of flowers. I think I like that. Just adds a little bit of something. No. I quite like those flowers behind there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop them on there. So I'll have one there. And we'll have one over the other side. Over here. And then I'm going to pop that on there. So you can still see all of the layered stuff. It's a bit of a busy tag, isn't it? But I quite like it. I quite like it. And I'm going to see if I've got some pinks that I can just embellish that with. Have a little look. So I'm definitely going to pop that on there. And possibly that there. And then perhaps one up there. I don't even know what I've done with my oh, there it is, tag now. So we've got that there. I might put that on there as well. I don't know why, but it's just I'm liking the busyness. And then if you wanted to, you could put your hole in there with some string, ribbon, lace, or whatever else it is that you want to add. So I'm going to pop one on there. And do we have anything smaller? Like that. that there. I think that's probably it. Although I could go on searching forever, but I'm not going to, unless anything really jumps out at me. Yeah, like that one in. Okay, I think that's it. I think that is it. So, let's hope this is going to fit in here now, which I don't think it's going to because of my lace. That isn't straight. Don't even know if this is going to go through this. And it did. That's better. Okay, so the prompt was a button card style tag, or button card style tag, or journal card. That was the prompt. I'm sure I had one of these which was like a sewing theme. Yeah, there. I wonder if that, yeah, it would. Let's forget, and I'll forget that that's the back, yeah. Okay. Okay, so yeah, a sewing themed, a button card themed journal card or tag. Gosh, couldn't have got it more complicated. That was the prompt for the week one's make. So this is my take on a button card tag. And then on the back, we've got a pocket with another tag on the inside. So that is my take on week one's challenge. I hope you enjoyed it. Took longer than I thought it was going to take, but that's because I can never stop playing. So yeah, love to know what you think. Feel free to leave a comment, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, as always, stay safe, be well. Bye for now.